Okay, if I could have your attention, we would like to get started. Thank you for being here to be a part of our child protection meeting. I'm going to begin our meeting a little differently. I have a 15-minute video that I want to show you, and it's a testimony. Many of you know that John and Mindy Spencer, who I had the opportunity of leading to Christ, they're my family from Michigan. And many years ago, I had the opportunity of leading them to Christ. I went up there for their baptism, and they're sharing their testimony with their church family. And the reason I'm going to share this with you is because their church in Michigan is very similar to our church here. And the ministries that caught their attention are the ministries that you're involved in with our young people. And so I want to share that with you, and I hope that it will be a blessing as well as serve as a foundation for what we want to do together as a church family. So go ahead and play that.
We are John and Mindy Spencer. We have been married now going on 41 years this weekend.
I'm Niles, and this is Rosie Spencer.
We have two kids, Chase, who's 18, and Emma, who's going to be 8 on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. We are Jason and Melissa Spencer. We have been coming to Bible Baptist Church for about 1.5 years now. And we have 2 daughters. Their names are Mackenzie and Madison. And Mackenzie is 10, Madison is 7.
Hi, I'm Ralph Spencer. This is my wife, Amber. We've been married for 15 years this coming June, and have both lived in Howell for pretty much our entire lives.
We have 3 beautiful children. Addie, she is 13 years old, Jensen, who is 10, and Juliana, who is 6 years old.
We first came to know Christ early in our marriage back in our early 20s, and through various reasons we found ourselves struggling with finding a home, and we kind of walked away and kind of went about life without walking with Christ.
Growing up, I had 2 younger brothers. We played a lot of sports, baseball, hockey, basketball. When I was in 2nd grade, we started going to a Christian school and going to church pretty much every Sunday and Wednesday. And then as we got older and sports picked up, and we kind of grew away from the church as sports picked up, and we had to travel every weekend and go out of town, and so life just got in the way of church. And then getting older, didn't really realize that it was missing out or anything.
We first heard about Bible Baptist Church through the Vacation Bible School program. My sister-in-law, I believe, was the first one that saw it.
So I just did online searching for Howell Vacation Bible School, and your Bible Baptist Church had what we were looking for as far as in the evenings, during the week. So that's what led us here. So our kids loved Vacation Bible School. The moment they got in here, it was bustling, it was busy. The decorations and all the setup you guys all have, they just loved it. It was kind of like, oh my gosh, So, and that was kind of their first introduction to church, so it made a good impression, and it made lasting memories for them. And then they got their cousins involved, and it just made for a fun atmosphere to learn about Jesus and having family there as well. So
After attending that BBC session, came to Mimi and Pappy, as they call us, and asked us if we would start taking them to that church that they went to Vacation Bible School for.
And that was because their parents told them they didn't want to bring them to ask Mimi and
Well,
Pappy.
they said, ask Mimi and Pappy if they'll take you, so they came to us, and of course, as grandchildren would have it, they get what they want, and so we were like, yeah, let's go. So the first service we went to was the outdoor service at the new property. Pleasantly surprised and greeted by many, many people, including all of the pastors, made a point of identifying that we were new, and came to us and introduced themselves and asked us who we were, and I think Pastor Nathan actually recognized the children.
Called them by name.
Called them by name, and was, so who did you bring with you today, type of thing. So scheduled some time with Pastor Nathan to come and talk with him, with some of the grandchildren. Mackenzie was included, as well as some of the others, so that they could get a further, handle on baptism and what it's all about, and how it's going to take place, So we scheduled the date for December 5th, and then at that point in time, kind of really made the push with our sons, and just said, if nothing else, just
come and see us be baptized and see what the church is all about.
From a young age, remember going to church, and then just with growing up getting busier and being the youngest sibling, we kind of got busy with sports.
So growing up, I never went to church. It was just never a priority for us to go to church. And when the kids decided they really wanted us to go to church, we were a little nervous, didn't know what to expect. And so when we came, I just was in shock on how everyone was so welcoming and open-armed to us, and they wanted to know who we were and wanted to know our story.
That's Phyllis and Flash Gordon and Christmas Carol. I think those were the first ones we met the first day, so that helped break the ice. And it's just been, one big family, a church family. More than a church family to me, it's an extension of our family.
Grew up in a smaller town. My parents were together until I was 17. My mom and I had some struggles. I had one younger sister, and found out later actually that I'm from a previous marriage of my mom's, and my dad met my mom when I was 9 months old. But with my mom and I struggling and stuff, I ended up moving out or getting kicked out from her when I was 17. And I did really well at first. I worked a lot of jobs and stuff, but in my early 20s, fell into some trouble. But my dad was always there for me. And when I was ready to change, met me right there, and we worked together and changed my life. And in that time, I had my son Chase, who is now 18. When I met Niles, Chase was 8 years old. And Niles had been wanting to have a family his whole life, so it was when I finally let him meet Chase, because I was pretty guarded with all those things, it was instant family. When Chase turned 16, struggles with his dad, who was in an unhealthy relationship, he kind of went away and got in some trouble and repeated the same mistakes that I did. Carried a lot of guilt and shame, and there was a lot of hurt going on between us and the whole family. Emma, our daughter, was really, he was the best brother in the world, and she was hurt so bad, and we were all hurting. So she kept begging me, "Mommy, come to church, you have to come." But the second I walked through the doors, I was supposed to be here. And, all of the struggles and the anxiety and the doubt and the fear that I've had since I was a child, it went away, and I was doing it right. So I came home and said, "Niles, please come with me." We're all trying to be healthy, but it's nice to be spiritually healthy too.
The main thing that the Lord has done for me is I don't worry anymore. I was a basket case all the time, constantly.
What is the gospel? What does that even mean? I didn't know anything, and I'm slowly learning, and I'm just so happy to be part of a small group and just dive deeper into that and learn more. I was just astonished to learn that Jesus died on the cross for me.
I'm a person that wants to know more information and read about it and find out as much as I can before taking a big step, such as accepting, you know, Jesus and God as our Savior. So I think at that point I had all the information I needed, and you know, I think it's still to this day, and I'm sure for probably the rest of my life, you know, sitting in church on Sundays and hearing the message and, you know, getting teared up all the time. It's just softening your heart, you know. So it's yeah.
So after attending church for about 7 months, we decided that we wanted to take the next step, which would be salvation. So we decided together, we wanted to do it together, and we met with Pastor Tim in his office on April 3rd of 2022, and we accepted Jesus Christ as our Savior.
So it just meant a lot to me to kind of seal the deal and just show everyone that I'm, you know, have Jesus in my heart, and I've known it, but obviously it's just nice to have that done. So.
But April of last year that I re-announced my beliefs and my faiths and re-prayed and got baptized again.
The second time I went to church, the day after I, you know, kind of sat down at work with John, we always have a lot of long, lengthy Bible study conversations, and just, you know, started asking him more questions of it, and then opening my own Bible and learning about it, and I wanted it so bad. Like my whole life, I felt like I didn't deserve to, or there was a reason why I never had been. Like I didn't know. I'd always wanted it, but I didn't know anything about it.
So we've started just coming early, way back when, before we even became members, and just found ourselves helping out wherever we could.
Then we do the growth groups.
Growth groups, yeah, that was by recommendation. That, you know, and I would say, you know, a little plug for that is that's just irreplaceable. You have to do a growth group. I mean, it's just you learn so much and are so blessed by the education that you just, you know, you're enriched by everybody's input, I guess is how I would put it. And
It's just been wonderful. We've met so many great people. We love all of them. We now have a growth group in our home temporarily because the home our growth group was in, they went to Florida for a couple of months, so, and we're loving every minute of it.
But I love that each week I learn something new about the Bible. I mean, you teach the Bible so well, and it's nice to be able to fit that into our everyday circumstances. So it's nice that we can apply things to real life.
Pastor Tim refers to his own personal life and refers to people in churches' lives, and we start to realize that everybody's had past and we're all not perfect. And coming here, you're not judged, and everybody loves each other and helps each other through.
I'm like, Chase, look around. Like, this is a very grounded church. Like, you'll see people that are really dressed up. You'll see people that it doesn't matter. It just matters that you're here, you know, and we've all got our own story, and just take that in.
So I've been to a lot of different churches, and this is one of the only ones that I've walked into that didn't feel like you were being shunned because no one knew who you were. People went out of their way to, hey, I don't recognize that person. I'm going to go over and talk to them and introduce them and make them feel welcome. So they actually went out of their way to make you feel welcome instead of, oh, I don't know that person, so I'm just going to leave them over there by themselves so they don't feel like they fit.
I don't see any way that our church isn't going to continue to double and triple and multiply. It just changes so many things.
Yeah, I think me and my business partner started our company full-time about a year and a half ago. He had met with Pastor Tim prior to that with our previous company that we both worked for 13 or 15 years, somewhere in that range between the two of us. And he had got invited to, you know, participate in the proposal, request for proposal for the new Bible Baptist Church. I don't know, it was probably a week later or so when I got involved in the proposal that realized it was actually the church my parents had started attending. Not too long before that, probably a couple months before. I think all during that whole process, we had ended up coming to, I think it was the trunk or treat as well, which was during that whole process, and that's when I met Pastor Tim for the first time. And then, you know, throughout that process, as it all kind of came together was kind of when the final selections were made, and I was a little hesitant of even attending church while that process was going, so I kind of want to keep that somewhat separate, even though at this point it's all commingled a little bit. But we ultimately got selected for doing the building, which I'm extremely grateful for. It seems like since then we've continued to build on that with additional projects, which again I think are, you know, God's intervention with our company and providing us with a way to provide for our families and hopefully, you know, provide back to the church as well. I think it was one of the first men's things I went to. It's your Pastor Tim's goal is to save souls, you know. So, and that's really what the commission's all about, from what I understand. So it's see more membership and, you know, God's people loving God's people. So
We've just talked about the, you know, long after we're gone, you know, that the kingdom of God still being, you know, added unto through, you know, our contributions is just again, it's something that you just can't, you just got to feel it. It's pretty awesome.
I still get teared up. So many people had a hand in that entire family. Vacation Bible School, trunk or treat, welcoming committees, changed the life of families. Your ministry will change the lives of people. And I thought that would be a good encouragement for you. And again, that was my family, and I got to be a part of that. And I get to be a part of it here at First Baptist, and you get to be a part of it. So what you do when you come on Bible school, dressing up and acting crazy, and Rachel and your singing, and that has an impact for the kingdom, and so it's worthwhile. So take out your protection policy. This is our read-through that we do every year. And the reason that we do this is to protect the lives that God entrusts to us. And so I never look at this as a chore to read through this. I look at this as just to reinforce how important our ministry is and how important the lives of those young people are. You will see the biblical basis there. Every child is of infinite value. We believe that. Every child is dearly loved by the Lord Jesus. Every child is to be loved, welcomed, and kept safe here at First Baptist of LaGrange. We live in perilous times. We live in a horrible world. And most of the kids that we may get from our community are probably experiencing abuse in some form or fashion. This needs to be a safe haven for them. And we're going to take every step that we possibly can to assure that that happens. Because more and more, even in churches, predators are coming into churches and they're preying on those young people. So we want to do everything we can to protect those young people. Protect you as our workers from anything that a false accusation or whatever. And so we really need to abide by these policies. I'm going to do the policy, then I'm going to have Pastor Luke come and read through the preventative policies that we have. Our position is this: all paid and volunteer workers in any of the educational ministries involving children of any age must complete a written application and be willing to complete a criminal background check arranged and paid for by First Baptist Church of LaGrange. So if you're a first-timer, and a lot of our new members, I hope you got the application. Okay, we have a card, and that card gives us permission to do the background check. So if you didn't get a card, raise your hand. Do you have them with you now? George, where are you? raise your hand and we'll get you that card. That's important for you to fill that out for us, and gives us an opportunity to do a background check. First timers. And we redo that check every 3 years, I believe, but it's done automatically, and so you don't have to do anything. We automatically do that. What's that? Yes, 18 and older. All paid and volunteer workers must yearly review this child abuse policy and procedures of First Baptist of LaGrange and sign that they are in agreement. So most of you received your application, and you will see on the back you have a place for your signature every year. Mine, I have an extra piece of paper because every year I've had to sign it, so I ran out of room. So if you've run out of room, we got a little piece that we staple to it so that you continue to sign that. So if you didn't get that, you got to make sure you see Jane and get that so that we have your signature. Ohio Revised Code states that clergy members and anyone responsible for the care of a child, Sunday school teacher, youth worker, Awana teacher, etc., have a legal reporting obligation when they suspect that a child has been physically or sexually abused or neglected. That means not necessarily here. That means if they come and you suspect that it has been going on at home, we have the responsibility to report that. And so that's important for you to know. Ohio law provides that anyone reporting suspected child abuse is immune from any civil or criminal activity that otherwise might be imposed as a result of such actions when taken in good faith. And so we are required by law to report, and most people don't say anything because they're afraid of what might happen. You don't have to be afraid of what might happen to you. Think of the child that you're going to be protecting. So as a result of those statements, then we've instituted some of these policies specifically for our ministries.
Yeah, I'll just jump right in. I'll make a few comments as we go. But nursery policies, first some guidelines for parents dropping off children. Parents must sign their child in by filling out a care sheet, being sure to list any special instructions or allergies. Parents will receive a pager that will indicate if you are needed, and only a parent or guardian should drop off and pick up their child. I'll make a comment on this one. It's always a stressful morning when you're trying to decide if your child's well enough for nursery, so we've tried to provide some specific guidelines here. Parents are encouraged not to bring their baby to the nursery if he or she has had a fever within 24 hours, diarrhea or vomiting, or if your baby has obvious symptoms of a serious cough or cold. And then the guidelines for nursery workers. All workers must be members of First Baptist Church and have passed a background screening. Workers must be 13 years or older to serve in this ministry. We should try to do a good job at this one, that workers must arrive 15 or 20 minutes before the start of the service. That's just an act of love to everyone else. There must be at least 2 adult caregivers in the nursery during all services. This one is unique to our nursery ministry. All adult male nursery workers should serve with their wife or with a married couple. And only ladies shall diaper the babies. Please disinfect the changing pad and wash hands after diapering each baby. Oversee the check-in and check-out procedures for each child. Be sure to make note of parents' instructions listed on the care sheet. This is afterwards. Please clean up the toys and use disinfectant spray at the end of each service. Place any toys that were in a child's mouth in the plastic container on the shelf. Nursery workers should not administer medication to any child. So if a parent asks you to, even say, no, I should not be doing that. Nursery workers must ensure that the nursery is not a gathering place for siblings or friends. Some Sundays that can happen if we're not careful. Should an emergency arise, immediately sound the alarm. Now, the alarm, there's a switch on the wall in there, and it will go off if not touched. It will stop running after 3 minutes. 3 minutes, I believe. So we did that at the board night, and we did not know how it turned off, and we kept touching it, and it kept adding 3 minutes. Don't do that. if something happens, run the alarm and leave it. And I'll mention, I don't know if it's in here actually, our policy then is that our officers go to the doors and secure the building if the alarm were to go off. You would think they hear it in the surrounding counties. Yeah. If you are not able to be in the nursery when you are scheduled, please find a replacement and contact the nursery coordinator. As someone who helps with volunteers, I always try to emphasize the order there. You find a replacement, please, if you can, and then tell the nursery coordinator. We ask a lot of our nursery coordinator to be a lot more if they had to find a trade, and that's similar to our other ministries. Try and have the lists available to you. Nursing mothers are permitted to nurse their child in the nursery, and there is a nursing area. There's a curtain there that Dennis installed for us. Closing thought for nursery workers: a spotless nursery is wonderful, an orderly arrangement is great, an organized ministry that is well run and governed is vitally important. However, you, the nursery worker, are the face of the nursery. You are the one that makes the first impression. I think I've shared this before, but my parents, in selecting the church I grew up in, that was one of the signs of health that they noticed, was the children's workers, how kind they were and how the impression they made. That's we don't want you to be fake, but just have the joy of the Lord. To the parent bringing their child, you are the one that represents the Lord Jesus Christ and our church. Thank you so much for your ministry. Truly, thank you so much, those of you who serve in nursery. Your warmth and compassion, as well as your welcoming smile. So that's nursery. This is other education ministries: youth group, VBS, children's church, Sunday school. Only properly screened, approved members may serve in the various Christian education ministries of FBC. When an approved worker is in a room alone with a child, the door must be kept open. So better still to avoid that situation, but there are times when in one of the Sunday school classes, the teacher's there first and then one kid is there. We keep the door open. Workers are never to use corporal punishment, including spanking for discipline. If there is an unresolved problem, the child should be taken to his or her parents. Physical restraint is to be used carefully and only to keep the child from hurting self or others. I think we probably have had some situations of that where a child could be a danger to others. Children in first grade and above should not sit on a teacher's lap. Physical contact with older children should be limited to a brief hug or pat on the head or back. Through the 6th grade, only the child's parents or an individual authorized by the parents are permitted to drop off and or pick up children from educational ministries such as Awana. All right, some vehicle policies on the church van and also the church bus. To help prevent allegation, 2 adults must ride the van when transporting children to and from ministries of FBC. Under normal circumstances, the van monitor will ride in the front passenger seat. If a problem develops, the monitor may ride in the center seat, but never in the rear seat. So that always needs a little clarification. When we say center seat, we mean the row right behind the driver and passenger seat. Or if we're talking about the bus, we mean the seat directly behind the driver. So you can be a little closer so you can provide some verbal instruction to the kids. But you don't ever want to be out of sight because you don't ever want to have an allegation come up against you that you can't have someone verifying for you. Only children with signed permission slips may ride the church van to and from educational ministries of FBC. To help prevent allegations, a log of mileage start, trip location, purpose, and mileage completed must be recorded when transporting children to or from any educational ministry of FBC. Off-campus activities. Van policies must be observed when transporting children to and from the off-campus activities. Signed permission slips must accompany the supervisor of the activity. Adequate chaperoning by approved screen members must be determined by the supervisor of the activity. All right, procedure for reporting suspected abuse. And this is when we suspect abuse that has happened elsewhere, I believe. And later it's if there's the allegation of it happening at a ministry. So this is if we suspect abuse somewhere else. If a worker in any of the educational ministries of FBC suspects a child has been abused physically, sexually, or through neglect, the following procedure should be carefully observed. If the alleged abuse has just occurred, immediately remove the child and guarantee his or her safety. I've sometimes gotten confused by that. That doesn't just mean I guarantee. That means like make sure they're safe. After securing the child's safety and assuring him or her that this is not his or her fault and that he or she is not responsible. If the abuse is known or suspected, immediately report the abuse to the supervisor of the activity and the pastor. The worker will prepare a written statement of the observation or suspicion of the alleged abuse. So I guess this is the section where if it was something here. Provide the supervisor and the pastor with the name of the child, his or her parents' names and address, the alleged abuse, and any information that can be provided. The pastor and supervisor will be responsible to report the matter to the LaGrange Police Department and all appropriate authorities within 72 hours. The pastoral staff will not seek to counsel the alleged victim and the alleged perpetrator to seek reconciliation, nor shall they conduct an investigation. Just a quick comment, I share this a lot when I read this, but this is, some churches have gotten in trouble with this, being so spiritually minded that they immediately try to get an abuser and the abused together and have the abused forgive the abuser. And that's foolishness. So we're not going to do that. We are going to investigate with them separate. So no staff, person, or volunteer from FPC shall be considered qualified to conduct such an investigation. So I misspoke. We're not going to investigate. We're going to let the investigation run its course before we're working on that. No staff, person, or volunteer will contact the alleged perpetrator. Absolute confidentiality will be maintained except for ongoing work with legal authorities or child protective services. When the allegation involves a church member, should an allegation of child abuse involving a staff member, volunteer worker, or attendee, the following steps shall be taken. The pastoral leadership shall call the deacons to an emergency meeting as soon as they can convene. They shall keep the matter in the strictest of confidence. The child protection services shall be notified of the alleged situation. The church insurance agent shall also be notified of the allegation. The alleged perpetrator shall be removed from all activity involving direct contact with children until the matter is resolved. The pastoral staff, though not qualified to conduct the investigation, shall provide assistance for the care of the victim and his or her family. Confidentiality prohibits notifying the accused that he or she has been reported to Child Protection Services or law enforcement. As the investigation continues, the pastoral leadership shall provide spiritual counsel for the alleged abuser and his or her family. Later on, after the time has passed. However, no attempt will be made to conduct a reconciliation meeting between the accused and the victim before reporting to Child Protection Services and law enforcement. The senior pastor shall be designated as the spokesman for any media inquiries. So we don't want to ever have to deal with this, but if we ever did, we would all be mum's the word. Pastor Hack would be the spokesman. If the allegation is substantiated, church discipline for the member will be enforced according to the church constitution. Continued support and counsel will be provided to the family of the abuser as well as the victim and his or her family. If the allegation is unfounded, every attempt will be provided to clear the accused's name and reputation.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Earlier, you mentioned in the event of an emergency, officers would secure the exits and stuff like that. Who are those officers?
The deacons and the trustees of the church.
And I'm assuming there's drills or some sort of training provided for that?
We did it at one of our last board meetings, and so that was quite fun. But yeah, there are 18 trustees and deacons, and so they have. We've got basically 3 doors that we will monitor. 4 doors, I guess there are. 2 in the older building and 2 in this building. Yes. Yeah. Well, that would be something we could look at in the future. All right, I would have you go to the back page and date and sign it. Yes.
Just along the lines of what she said, I've seen in other churches a name tag kind of wristband thing
Okay,
There's a directory of the kids in the database, and then just select a kid, print the first bat out. For something larger like PBS,
yeah,
especially with kids we potentially don't know, and
right,
parents we don't know, that might be a good idea.
okay. Good thoughts. The date, 6/4/23. Make sure you put the right date down, please. And sign your name. No, just this, your application. We want you to keep a copy of this. So if you don't have a copy, please keep a copy so that you can reference it. Yes? We have videoed this. It will be on our website, and anybody who has missed can watch that and still go through the process of signing then. So yes, that is available. That should be on the website quickly too, is it correct? Yes. All right, thank you for spending your after service with us, and I hope you have a great meal. Have a good day.